Hello everybody, it's Rhonda Burchmore here and welcome back to Rhonda's Rewind, the series where I explore some of my favorite performances, some of my favorite stories and secrets with you right here on YouTube. Now, today's episode, we are going right back to 1985 and talking about Sugar Babies, the show that I did right throughout Australia and then was invited to London's West End, just our opposite Mickey, Rooney and Anne Miller. It was 1985 when I auditioned in Australia for this role. The brief was that the juvenile lead, or the soubrette, had to be very tall, leggy, sang with a big belt, big Broadway belt, could tap dance and had a flair for comedy and was a good sport. Well, it was like, oh my gosh, if there was a role written for me, this was it, all those things, the other shows you audition for that you're too tall, you're too old, you're too young, you're this or you're that. This was the one. Not only was there Eddie Bracken in the lead, who would remain a dear friend and my mentor throughout my whole life. If you don't know him, Google him. Eddie Bracken worked with the likes of Marilyn Monroe, Judy Garland. Apart from that, and the incredible chorus of Sugar Babies, it was a burlesque type of show and it was so lavish. The one thing that I remember was the Americans said to me, "Are you a good sport, Rhonda?" And what they meant was, I had to do this burlesque bird number. Now let me explain to you the bird number, which was my highlight of the show, but I'm sure a lot of people remember this number in the show more than anything because it was like 15 live pigeons. Well, after rehearsals with the normal singing and dancing with the Sugar Babies, I used to have to go do bird training, and Tiki and John would train me how to attract these birds to my body as I sang a song called Warm and Willing. And as the birds would be released from the wings, they would fly to my finger, fingers crossed, and I would remove a veil and they would perch themselves in various positions all over my body. Now let me explain. There was the chorus, and then there was titty 1 and titty 2, then there was the head 1, and then there was Fanny Bird, prime position, and that was like the big moment of this number when I would remove the veil and there would be Fanny and she'd spread her little wings over there. And it used to bring the house down. It was just fantastic, this number. I mean, I did have my problems certain times of the months because the birds were kept in a cage in the wings. The only time they got out was to see Rhonda doing Warm and Willing. So as many as 8 would climb on my head at a certain time of the month and actually fornicate as I was trying to sing, "Show me that you're warm and willing." And they would do that, and then they would push each other off and then even take my eyelashes off, and they used to leave so much bird poo all over me, but my gosh, it was beautiful. It was a wonderful, wonderful number, and I just happened to have a version of this that I did many moons ago. Enjoy.
The number we're about to present is one of the highlights of Sugar Babies, and you're about to see why. Would you welcome Rhonda Burchmore with a few of her feathered friends with Warm and Willing. Rhonda Burchmore.
Love is for the warm and willing, waiting for the warm and willing. Love is ours to take or toss aside. Take this promise to your heart and let your lips repeat. Kisses are too sweet to be denied. Show me that you're warm and willing. Make each golden moment thrilling. Give my empty arms a welcome sign. We can make the stars go spinning and the earth stand still if you're warm and willing to be mine.
Isn't this wonderful?
Isn't it a special treat?
Don't fall back.
Now, mind Fanny birthday. Whoa, go on, look what happened. Put him back on, Ray.
How do you know it's a him?
No, it's her hair. One night she actually, when she was released, she actually collapsed on the floor and we thought, oh no, not the crutch bird. And actually on the last note came up to my hand, but the reason was as soon as they put it in the basket, it laid an egg. So the poor little thing has to do its act when it's, you know, it's a she actually, Fanny.
Well, does it always work? Do they always come down?
No. Look, one night, actually, they're so sensitive, we put dry cleaning fluid to clean the outfit. And it was a different smell, of course, and they all did a U-turn and I was left with none, which was a great night. Oh, look, there's the poo, look. Look at that on the floor, look, on the floor there.
It's just with me. It's just... I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of this.
We have a packet of Norska and those wet things after every performance, and my dresser has to sponge it all up.
Thank you for that. That's
absolute pleasure.
Don't even applaud. It's a wonderful scene, lovely sequence.
Is that Fanny? Come on, put it back.
I'll take this. Do you mind? There you go. No, we won't do it. All right. After the break, I think we'll come back with something after this break.
Well, how about that? Eddie Bracken would invite me to meet Mickey Rooney, who was out here for one of our Logie performances. The next thing I know, I was invited to perform my role again in London, and the big news was I was going to be working opposite Mickey Rooney, absolute legend from all those movies with Judy Garland, and legendary Ann Miller, who you may know from Easter Parade, Kiss Me Kate. Her and Eleanor Powell, you know, I think that their beat count as tap dancers, amazing performers. And for me, it was so exciting because it was Gene Kelly, Judy, Mickey or Ann. You know, I grew up in my household. You know, anytime one of those musicals came on, Mum would stop everything and we had to watch it. Well, to get over there to work with these legends on stage was like, I had to pinch myself. It was a dream come true. Now, Ann Miller, she was amazing. I was her understudy as well as playing the soubrette. It was that funny thing that she started off, you know, a little frosty towards me, but by the end we were best of pals. I do remember how professional she was. She'd get into the theatre about 4 o'clock. She'd have this routine that she'd go out on the stage, and anything that was, you know, going to affect her performance, whether there was a bobby pin there or a sequin or anything, the surface of the floor, if it was, you know, anything, she would just, because she'd save her voice, she'd go out with a box of tissues and she'd just put a tissue on all those spots all over the stage for the mechs or, you know, the guys, the stage team to clean up so that everything would be perfect. She put on as many as 4 or 5 pairs of tights because so that the legs didn't wobble at all. No. There was this rule that no one was allowed to wear jewellery on stage, especially the boy dancers who were dancing with her. And until one day, you know, they were doing this big lift with Anne, and the understudy was on, left his watch on, and well, the watch rips through all those pairs of tights, and all of a sudden, this skin started exploding like sausages, and the poor guy started to try to push her flesh back in, and he was actually fired. And so there you go. And then there was Mickey. I mean, Mickey was very tricky Mickey, as they used to call him. You know, Anne and Mickey had this relationship where they couldn't stand each other socially, but they knew they had to work with each other in the show because they just made magic out there. It was just amazing what they did. But needless to say, there were days where Mickey would, in the middle of a scene, be in his dressing room listening to horse races and miss his cue. He was very bitter, Mickey, about, I guess, you know, obviously his childhood and the whole Hollywood system. You know, when he was good though, when he was on, he was unbelievably amazing. But when he was bad, he was shocking because he just didn't care. There's that famous story, of course, where he decided to write me a song to put in the show. And here was me, a gullible young girl, thinking, oh my goodness, Mickey Rooney is writing me a song. But with that came, of course, I was so gullible. He invited me down to his dressing room to have lunch with him and you know, talk to me about the song. I got dressed up because it's not every day you know, kind of get to have dinner with Mickey Rooney, but I went down there in this incredible, you know, dress in between shows on Saturday and opened the door, walked in, and there was very little Mickey Rooney. He was very short, and there he was in nothing but his underpants. And they were well-worn underpants too. The elastic had gone in the right leg, and the royal jewels, I mean, he'd been married many times, were just out there on show. I didn't know where to look. And this is worse because he was just sitting in a chair, and in front of him where we were going to have dinner, because we were going to get takeaway from the Savoy Grill next door, it was a glass top coffee table, so there was no escaping. It was like having dinner there was Mickey and there's me. Needless to say, the Dover Soul arrived and kind of put his serviette over his offending package, and I never really came at the Dover Soul. I kind of ran out of the dressing room and never got that song. Oh yes, Mickey stories. Mickey and Anne, one of my favourites was when after they do their big numbers, they used to have oxygen machines in the wings. They had the Anne oxygen machine and the Mickey. Because, as I said, they were quite an age. And all hell broke loose the night that Mickey got onto Anne's oxygen machine and he had a cold. Oh my gosh, it was World War III. It was incredible. So yeah, that was, yeah. My absolute favourite Ann Miller story was New Year's Eve. I asked Anne if she would like to join me for supper at my little humble flat in Marylebone High Street. A little studio I was in there, and I never thought in a million years she'd say yes, but she said yes. And I went, oh my gosh, Ann Miller's coming to my place. And I said, it's only casual, Anne, it's only casual. So anyway, she arrived, the limousine dropped her off, and she arrived and she came in the full-length diamond mink coat. And then when she removed that, she had all the emeralds because she'd been engaged to Conrad Hilton, you know, the Hiltons. And then she had cashmere sweater and slacks. And anyway, we started off and I was in a tracksuit. That was my idea of casual tracker-dacker. And I cooked a pasta primavera, and as I said, lots of French champagne. And every hour, the minder would ring to say, Anne, are you ready to go home? And Anne say, no. You know, it was just like if she wanted to get out of there, she could have. Anyway, we got past midnight, 1, 2 o'clock, and several bottles of champagne later. We were talking about her Hollywood days, dancing with Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly and all sorts. And we're talking about Easter Parade, where she does the big number, Shaking the Blues Away. She said, pull all the furniture, you know, we're in my little, and she actually did the number in my little flat. And you just wished that everyone that knew her loved her. I have that memory that is such a beautiful thing. At about 3:34, I remember I think she'd had enough. We had all these wonderful cheeses, and I remember she helped herself with the cheeses in a Louis Vuitton handbag. And she gets to the lift, and she said, Rhonda, I'm pissed, but I'm elegant. And then the door shut, and there went Ann Miller off into the night, and just amazing story. Now, just as a little footnote to that Ann Miller story, who would have thought that 20 years later I would be invited to reproduce that same role that Anne played in Easter Parade, the Shaking the Blues Away, to go to Broadway. But that's going to be saved for another episode. Well, thank you so much for watching today. Oh, I forgot to tell you, this is my original Sugar Babies t-shirt with the autographs of Ann Miller and Mickey Rooney right here on my shoulders. What a little keepsake that is. Look at that. Whoa, there you go, just for kicks. Now, if you enjoyed today, I want you to let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell to keep those episodes of Rhonda Rewind coming. And if you want to know a little bit more about that and some more stories and goss, you can get a copy of Legs 11. You can go to rhondabirchmore.com. Until next time, bye-bye.